5 German Panthers advance across a frozen French valley, their commanders confident the Americans can't touch them at long range. Yet 12 minutes later, all 5 are burning wrecks, destroyed by a machine German crews had learned to dismiss as exposed and fragile. Late 1944, eastern France, along the hard-fighting corridors leading toward the Saar and the border. A winter engagement remembered for a brutal fact: 5 Panthers knocked out in rapid succession at roughly 900 yards. Today, we reveal what German armored commanders actually faced when the M36 tank destroyer shattered their confidence. The final months of 1944 carry a strange tension across the Western Front. The Allies are advancing, but the momentum that began after the breakout from Normandy has slowed as American divisions stretch east toward the Saar and the German border. Terrain becomes more restrictive. Rivers, fortified towns, and thick forest lines force infantry to grind forward at a costly pace. German counterattacks become sharper, more calculated, designed to delay, punish, and bleed the enemy long enough for new defensive lines to form. In this shifting landscape, armored warfare remains decisive. And among all the tanks still fighting in Europe, the German Panther remains one of the most feared. Its 75mm gun offers exceptional penetration at long range. Its sloped armor can defeat many Allied rounds under the wrong conditions. And its optics provide clarity that often lets German crews fire first. American units advancing through Lorraine and Alsace report growing encounters with these vehicles. Panthers appear on ridges, in tree lines, behind farm walls. They anchor counterattacks and serve as mobile bunkers during withdrawals. Every one of them demands caution, coordination, and patience to defeat. To deal with this, the U.S. Army deploys its tank destroyer battalions, units conceived to be mobile, aggressive hunters of enemy armor. Their doctrine emphasizes speed, ambush, and concentrated fire. They are not designed to perform the same role as tank battalions. They are not intended for prolonged slugging matches. Their job is singular: destroy German armor quickly and withdraw before becoming targets. One such formation, the 703rd Tank Destroyer Battalion, has been fighting steadily since Normandy. Over the campaign, it is attached and reassigned as operational needs shift, and its crews develop a reputation for disciplined fire control and precision under pressure. They learn German tactics, recognize when a Panther is being used as bait, and learn when to strike. But even veteran crews admit that earlier American tank destroyer guns can struggle against the Panther's front armor once ranges begin to open. That limitation begins to change when the 703rd begins operating the M36 gun motor carriage, equipped with the powerful 90mm gun. The weapon promises a better chance against Panther armor at practical combat distances. Its velocity, optics, and fire stability surpass earlier models. Yet as soon as the M36 appears, it becomes the subject of debate on both sides. German crews often judge vehicles the way tankers always have, by what they see and what they believe they can kill first. They notice the M36's high silhouette, thin hull protection, and open turret. To a Panther crew trained to trust long range and strong frontal armor, an open-topped American vehicle looks vulnerable, dangerous only if allowed the first shot. In more than one sector, German crews treat such vehicles as threats to be neutralized quickly, not as armored opponents to fear. Those assumptions spread. The belief that American long-range fire is unreliable becomes a quiet advantage for Panther units that rely on distance, optics, and early hits to dominate the battlefield. But what the Germans fail to consider is the way American tank destroyers fight when used according to doctrine: hidden, patient, and deadly at range, especially when the ground forces tanks into a corridor and denies them the freedom to maneuver. The scene is set in early winter fighting, in a sector near the approaches to the Moselle and the road nets that feed eastward operations. The valley leading toward a small cluster of buildings and junctions serves as a natural corridor for vehicles, bordered by rolling farmland and broken by hedgerows, drainage lines, and stone fences. German elements preparing to withdraw and delay use nearby ridges to stage armored probes. American commanders expect an attempt to push, hoping to disrupt consolidation and force the line to bend. Into this uncertain landscape, a tank destroyer platoon takes position. Their mission is simple: hold the valley corridor, destroy any German armor attempting to break through, support the infantry holding behind them. The stakes are high. If Panthers break into the corridor and reach the junctions beyond, they can compromise supply movement, threaten artillery routes, and force the Americans into a slow, bloody retreat. Even a short thrust could cause disproportionate effects. The challenge is obvious. The Americans have only a handful of M36s available in the immediate fight. Reports and battlefield observation suggest the Germans have multiple Panthers assembling beyond a ridge. The situation appears impossible. But what the Germans do not yet know is that the M36 crews have prepared the ground with absolute precision. By this point in late 1944, German armored doctrine on the Western Front has narrowed to a single priority: delay the Americans at all costs. The rapid collapse in France has left German units short on fuel, ammunition, and replacement crews. What they still possess, however, is experience and some of the most dangerous armored vehicles in Europe.
Among them, the Panther remains a centerpiece weapon. German commanders understand the Panther's strengths intimately. In open terrain, Panthers are taught to engage first, withdraw second, and only close if absolutely necessary. The Panther is most dangerous when it controls range and angle, when it can see first and fire first. This confidence shapes German expectations in the sector. Field reports and later summaries indicate that Panther crews assigned to local counterattack missions often believed American anti-tank capability nearby was limited or predictable: towed guns, earlier destroyers, or tanks that would struggle at range. They expected the Americans to expose themselves before they could be effective. That assumption becomes a fatal mistake. The Americans, meanwhile, are under no illusions. The platoon leader studies aerial photographs, ground reports, and the reality of the corridor. Panthers are not reckless. If they advance, they do so deliberately, probing for weakness. Any misplacement of an open-topped M36 could result in instant destruction. The challenge is compounded by numbers. A few M36s cannot survive a prolonged firefight against multiple Panthers if detected early. The Americans cannot afford a second exchange. The first shots must decide the engagement. There is also the problem of exposure. The M36's open turret offers excellent visibility, but it leaves crews vulnerable to artillery fragments, machine gun fire, and bursts that shower the fighting compartment with splinters and steel. If German infantry accompanies the Panthers closely enough to observe and direct fire, the Americans could be overwhelmed even after scoring early hits. Everything depends on surprise. What the Germans do not know is that the Americans are counting on the very confidence Panther crews carry with them. They expect the Panthers to advance as if distance and armor will protect them. They expect them to commit into the corridor long enough to enter a measured kill zone. That expectation is exactly what the Americans plan to exploit. But even with surprise, the odds remain grim. Panthers advancing together represent serious armored force. Their overlapping fields of fire can suppress exposed gun positions rapidly. One missed shot by the Americans could draw return fire that wipes out a section in seconds. 1 second too long in the same firing position can be the second a Panther gunner finally sees the muzzle flash and walks around onto the hull.
Among the men in the M36s, there is no bravado, only focus. Veteran gunners later describe mornings like this as quiet in a way that makes the ears ring. Loaders move deliberately. Gunners check sights again and again. No one speaks above a whisper because everyone understands what is at stake. This should not be possible. And yet, they are here. The night before the engagement is cold and damp. Low clouds hang over the valley, muting sound and limiting visibility. For the Americans, this is an advantage. Darkness allows movement without drawing attention. Late at night, the M36s begin repositioning. Engines idle low as each vehicle creeps forward into pre-selected hull-down positions along a reverse slope. The ridge masks silhouettes completely from the valley below. Only gun barrels, carefully aligned, point toward the anticipated approach route. Camouflage netting and winter cover reduce hard edges that might betray them at first light. Each position is chosen for a reason. The leftmost M36 covers the drainage ditch running diagonally across the field. The center vehicle commands the open ground between the ditch and a stone fence line. The rightmost M36 watches the shallow rise near the approach road. These overlapping fields of fire ensure that no Panther can maneuver without exposing a flank. Range estimation is meticulous. Using fence posts, lone trees, and the curvature of the ground, distances are confirmed repeatedly. The far ridge where Panthers are expected to appear measures just under 1,000 yards. The intended engagement window is around 900 yards, close enough for controlled fire, far enough that Panthers may still trust their position and advance into the corridor. Ammunition selection is finalized. Anti-armor rounds are prioritized. Certain high-velocity rounds, when available, are held for the first moments when the best targets present themselves. Every shot must count. High explosive remains reachable, but secondary, because the first phase of the fight is about knocking out armor before it can reply accurately. Communication discipline is enforced. Radios are tested once, then kept silent or minimized. Hand signals and short prearranged commands will govern the opening moments. Meanwhile, German forces gather beyond the valley. Panther crews refuel what they can. Engines are checked, optics cleaned. Orders are brief and direct. Advance at first light, probe positions, engage resistance. In some German accounts of similar probes, such missions are described as routine. No expectation of heavy resistance, limited preparation, speed considered sufficient. The truth is far more dangerous. Before dawn, American forward observers take position in cover overlooking the corridor. From there, they can see the distant tree line and the ridge beyond. Radios remain quiet, but binoculars stay fixed. Everyone is waiting for the first sign of movement. As daylight builds, a thin fog settles into the low ground. Visibility drops slightly, but not enough to obscure large vehicles. The rising sun casts long shadows across the fields. The platoon leader watches the fog and holds his breath. Conditions are nearly perfect for an ambush. Enough haze to blur silhouettes, enough visibility to place accurate fire. Then, movement is spotted. 5 Panthers emerge from the tree line, spaced evenly, advancing in a shallow line. Their turrets rotate slowly, commanders scanning ahead. Tracks churn damp soil, leaving dark scars behind them. The Germans believe they are in control. What they do not know is that every meter they advance brings them deeper into a carefully measured kill zone.
Inside the M36s, gunners settle into their sights. Loaders grip the first rounds. Drivers brace, knowing they must remain still once firing begins. Because the moment a gun fires, the enemy starts hunting the flash. Time slows. The platoon leader tracks the lead Panther as it rolls toward the stone fence line. He checks his watch. The Panthers continue forward. The Americans do not fire. Still no fire. German confidence grows. What happens next will unfold faster than anyone expects.
The Panthers continue advancing across the valley floor. Engines rumble steadily, exhaust drifting low. From the German perspective, nothing appears unusual. No muzzle flashes, no artillery, no visible movement along the ridge. The lead Panther reaches the fence line. Inside the first M36, the gunner adjusts his sight picture by a fraction. He has already measured the range twice, 900 yards. The Panther fills the reticle cleanly. The slope of its frontal armor is clear. The loader stands ready with an anti-armor round balanced against the breech. Sweat beads despite the cold. In an open turret, the body can be freezing and sweating at the same time. Cold air on the skin, heat of urgency in the chest. A calm command comes. Controlled, disciplined, stand by. The Panthers slow slightly, maintaining spacing. One turret turns left, another scans right. A German commander raises binoculars, trying to identify shapes along the ridge. Then the order that changes everything. Fire. The first 90mm gun detonates with a sharp, thunderous crack. Recoil slams through the chassis. The shell crosses the valley in less than a second. Impact. A Panther is struck hard. Whether the killing penetration comes through a vulnerable point revealed by movement, or through an angle that fails under the force of the hit, the result is immediate. The tank lurches, then stops. Flames begin to vent. Smoke starts to rise. Before the smoke fully spreads, a second M36 fires. Another thunderous report, another impact. A second Panther is hit and disabled. The vehicle slews, movement broken, the corridor beginning to choke. German formations freeze. Inside the remaining Panthers, shock ripples through the crews. Radios crackle with overlapping calls. Turrets swing as commanders search for the source of fire. In such moments, the most dangerous enemy is not the gun itself, it is uncertainty. The Panthers must locate the threat, angle armor, and return accurate fire, but the ambush is denying them time. A third M36 fires. Another impact, another Panther knocked out. Smoke and flame vent upward. A turret hatch jolts. The silhouette of a fighting machine becomes the silhouette of a wreck. 3 Panthers are now disabled or burning. On the German side, confusion deepens. One Panther fires through haze and smoke, the 75mm round exploding short of the ridge. Dirt and debris rain across the slope. The gunner is trying to solve the problem the only way he can: fire at the suspected area and hope to walk the burst onto the target. German commanders order smoke deployment. Black and gray clouds billow from the remaining Panthers, spreading across the valley floor. Drivers attempt to reverse, but the ground is soft and winter slick. Tracks dig in. Maneuvering becomes slow and awkward. This is the moment the M36 crews want. Smoke does not remove the Panthers. Smoke forces them to move, and movement forces exposure. Inside the second M36, the gunner tracks a Panther through thinning smoke as it pivots toward a shallow depression that might offer cover. Up! The loader drives the round home. The gun fires. A first hit may glance, strike low, or fail to deliver a kill. That happens in war. The important thing is what comes next: correction and speed. Up! Another round. This time the hit bites. The Panther jerks violently. Smoke pours from vents. The tank rolls forward and stops dead. 4 Panthers are out of action. Now the 5th Panther faces a decision: stay and die, or move and risk exposing its weaker angles. It accelerates, attempting to break contact. The commander orders full throttle, turning toward the tree line and safety beyond the ridge. But the smoke has thinned, and the rear of the tank is exposed. Inside the first M36, the gunner tracks the moving target carefully, leading slightly to account for speed and distance. The loader slams the breech shut. The gun fires. The round strikes, Penetration is immediate. Flames erupt from the engine compartment. The tank skids into a shallow ditch and stops. The valley falls silent, except for the crackle of fuel. 5 Panthers lie wrecked across the field. 12 minutes have passed since the first shot, at least as the engagement is remembered in unit accounts and later summaries. The Americans hold their fire. For several long seconds, no one moves. Inside the M36s, gunners keep sights trained on the wrecked smoke. Loaders remain ready. Drivers keep engines idling. Every man expects a counterstroke. Artillery, infantry, another armored wave. The M36s are exposed by design. A single mortar concentration, a sudden machine gun sweep, or a delayed Panther round could still punish them. None comes immediately. The platoon leader watches the field through binoculars. Smoke drifts upward, mixing with low fog. The Panthers are clearly disabled. No organized movement is visible. Cease fire. Hold position. American infantry begins advancing cautiously from covered positions. They move in short bounds, rifles raised, scanning for German infantry or survivors. As they approach the nearest Panther, the scale of destruction becomes clear. Entry points are visible. Armor is peeled and torn. Interiors are blackened. The shock is not only the kill, it is the range. Some soldiers later recall pacing the ground and realizing the Panthers weren't close, not at all. The distance is remembered as just under 900 yards. Panthers at that range are supposed to be safe. They were not. German activity in the immediate sector fades. No follow-up thrust develops quickly enough to matter. Whatever probe was intended is broken. The corridor remains in American hands. Back at battalion command posts, reports are written quickly and without drama. In wartime paperwork, there is little room for mythology, only results, ammunition expenditure, and remarks on terrain and tactics. The engagement is remembered in simple terms. Multiple Panthers destroyed in a short time window at a measured range by M36 fire delivered from prepared positions.
There is no celebration. The men involved have seen too much combat to indulge in it. They clean guns, re-camouflage positions, and prepare for the next contact. But something has changed. Word spreads quietly through American units. The M36 can stop Panthers cold at long range when used properly. Infantry commanders request tank destroyer overwatch. Fire planning becomes tighter. Artillery coordination increases. Meanwhile, on the German side, the reaction is serious. German tank crews are not sentimental about enemy equipment. If something kills Panthers quickly, it becomes a problem that must be solved. In later summaries and soldier recollections, the theme repeats. Unexpectedly effective long-range American anti-tank fire delivered from concealment, forcing Panthers to reconsider how safe distance truly is. The truth is unsettling for German commanders. Their assumptions have failed. The open-topped American vehicle they dismissed as vulnerable has annihilated a Panther element in minutes, and the implications are impossible to ignore. The reaction does not always come as a single dramatic quote. It comes as revised behavior. More reconnaissance, more smoke, more caution entering corridors, more hesitation pushing forward without infantry screens and artillery support. In the days after the engagement, surviving German elements withdraw, reorganize, and continue the delaying fight elsewhere. The war does not pause, but the psychological effect remains. The Panthers have encountered an American gun that can reach into their comfort zone and kill them before they can correctly answer. For German armored doctrine, that matters. The Panther was designed to dominate long-range engagements. Its crews were trained to rely on distance as protection. The realization that an American weapon can negate that advantage forces tactical revision. How to approach, when to smoke, where to probe, and how quickly to disengage when the first rounds come from a hidden position. For the men of the Tank Destroyer Battalion, the battle fades quickly into routine. Within days, they are moving again,
supporting infantry advances and preparing for new contacts. But the effects of that 12-minute engagement endure. Throughout the winter and into early 1945, M36 crews across the Western Front become increasingly valued in their intended role: anti-armor ambush at range. The M36 does not win the war by itself. It is not invulnerable. Its open turret continues to cost lives when artillery finds them or infantry gets close. But when positioned correctly, protected by infantry, and used with discipline, it proves itself beyond doubt. This engagement reveals something deeper than a technical comparison of guns and armor. It shows how assumptions fail under fire, how confidence becomes vulnerability, and how disciplined crews, using terrain, timing, and restraint, can overturn an enemy's advantage without spectacle or noise. The men involved do not always write memoirs. Most never speak publicly about the fight. For them, it is one engagement among many in a winter of smoke and exhaustion. But history remembers outcomes. 5 Panthers destroyed, a short, violent window of time, a measured range, an American tank destroyer firing from concealment. That record stands because it captures a brutal battlefield truth. A weapon that looks vulnerable can still be lethal if it strikes first and strikes correctly. If you want to explore more moments where overlooked weapons and disciplined crews changed the course of battle, stay with us. In the next episode, we examine another engagement where German armor met an enemy it underestimated. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share which World War II battle you want analyzed next. Thank you for watching.